Hello there, RosterWatch Nation. It's your friendly neighborhood trash man. And today I'm going to be going over the waiver wire cheat sheet for week 4, going into week 4 of the NFL season. So let's go ahead and get started. I guess it's probably a given that this player would be highest on the waiver wire cheat sheet. And I'm not going to give away all of the cheat sheet, but this is pretty obvious, and that's Chuba Hubbard, out of Carolina. There really isn't a question as to who would be the highest priority player, or at least running back this week, with Christian McCaffrey out. Behind him, we have the likes of a Peyton Barber in Las Vegas, who actually looked like a real NFL running back this past week, and he could get another shot to do that again this week. Further down the list, we have our boy J.J. Taylor in New England with James White going down. It looks like Taylor. Alex says he's James White part 2, so we're going to go ahead and see. So make sure he's one of your priority players. After him, we have I was kind of wondering whether to put Kyle Yuschik in the waiver wire cheat sheet. He is a fullback, but he got quite a bit of run against the Packers Sunday night. And if it's just Trey Sermon really in the backfield there for the 49ers this week, you could see a bit more Yuschik action. Further down the list, we have guys like Malcolm Brown, who had some decent touches for Miami this past week, and the likes of Tony Jones Jr., who really still hasn't done much behind Alvin Kamara. But if Kamara goes down for some reason, Tony Jones Jr. would rocket up into fantasy relevance. At the wide receiver position, right off the bat, I have Tim Patrick, my boy out of Denver. He actually led the Broncos in receiving last season. It looks like he might have a chance to do it again this season if the Broncos receivers keep on getting injured. KJ Hamler out with an ACL tear this past week. I think Tim Patrick has a really good chance to do a lot of damage in fantasy throughout the rest of the season. And he's owned in about 20% of leagues. So he's going to be out there for you. After him, we have guys like AJ Green, who, I wanted to relegate to, maybe garbage grab status here and there, but it looks like AJ Green is getting run every week in that Arizona offense. It's, the hottest offense in football right now. I want to get a piece of it wherever I can. And AJ Green is actually, he might be he's arguably the third highest target getter on that team right now. Behind him, we have, Hunter Renfrow, Bryan Edwards out of Las Vegas. They're actually getting, 6 to 8 targets a game there in Vegas. And that, I guess it's a revamped offense. I don't really know what's in the water there. But things are working for the Raiders offense right now. Behind him, we have guys like Marquez Valdez-Scantling is on there. He's actually second in targets behind Devontae Adams in Green Bay, and that's not nothing on an Aaron Rodgers team. Further down the list, we have guys like Van Jefferson, Deshaun Jackson, who have, a great matchup with the Cardinals this week. So make sure, if you got an open flex, if you got an open spot in a deeper league and you need to fill it, one of those guys could do the trick for you this week. Further down the list, we have Josh Gordon, one of my all-time GOATs in fantasy. He's with the Chiefs right now. He could end up being very valuable. You might want to, juice up, pump up your bid for him higher than he is here on this list. But there's just so many variables right now. We don't know how soon he's going to get into action. We don't know to what extent he's going to be in action. He's 30 years old. We don't know if he's going to, have the legs that he had, when we last saw him really play. So, take this all with a grain of salt, but Josh Gordon could end up being pretty valuable in fantasy. So make sure you take a good long look at him. Further down the list, we have guys like Colin Johnson of the Giants, second-year player. It's a big target. Daniel Jones needs a big target, I guess, because he's not very accurate with the ball. But he actually showed up for the Giants this past week, and he, he's more of a deeper league guy, but I like him. Also, further down, we have guys like Khalif Raymond out of Detroit. It seems like every week there's a new Lions receiver who is leading in targets. This past week is Khalif Raymond. Who knows what will stick, but between him and, Quintez Cephas, maybe one of them takes the lead there in Detroit. In any case, he's somebody you might want to put, in your on the deepest recesses of your bench. Moving on to tight end. Some of the higher priority guys are going to be like Tyler Conklin out of Minnesota, who I think he had an 8 reception game this past week. Kind of took KJ Osborne's shine away, at least for the week. We could see them going back and forth for targets throughout the week, but it looks like Tyler Conklin is going to have some fantasy value moving forward. Also, guys like Pat Freiermuth out of Pittsburgh, who actually had a decent game this past week. I don't know if it's because Deontay Johnson wasn't there, or they just, were looking for some other options to move the ball because it wasn't really working for the Steelers. But Pat Freiermuth has some juice. Behind him, we have guys like Dalton Schultz of the Cowboys, who actually had a really good game on Monday night, scored, and, got some really clutch plays. It seems like, I don't know if it was a scheme thing. It seems like every week these Cowboys are going with a different pair of players that are getting all of the action, and I guess that's what works for an offense. And you have so many guys you can move the ball with, whoever's open that particular week, wherever you like the matchup that you go to. But it looks like Dalton Schultz is starting to heat up there in fantasy. Moving on to quarterbacks, we have our Sam Darnold, that you might want to spend a little bit of money on if you're hurting at quarterback right now. Sam Darnold, he's averaging around 21 fantasy points per game so far this season, doing a little bit with his feet too. I don't know if it might be his matchups. He's had some pretty cushy matchups to this point. So I don't know if I trust it just yet, but of all the quarterbacks there, he might have one of the higher ceilings to him, and like a Daniel Jones, who actually took a step back this week, but is still doing a lot with his legs, and guys like Teddy Bridgewater, who is also, I think he's maybe 8th in dropback so far this season, if I'm not mistaken. He's getting a lot of air under those balls, so maybe Teddy's taking a turn for the better finally in his long, arduous career. And then moving on to defenses, most of these are all matchup based. The Tennessee Titans, they are playing the Jets this week, and the Jets are pretty abysmal right now. Also, the Chicago Bears, who are playing the Detroit Lions, and it seems like everybody who plays the Detroit Lions tends to do pretty well defensively against them. And, and again, behind them, we have more teams who have pretty good matchups. So there you have it. There are some tidbits from the Waiver Wire cheat sheet for week 4. If you really want to check it out, dig deep into it, come on to RosterWatch.com. If you aren't a member, become a member. Join us. We are a nation. This has been the Trash Man on behalf of RosterWatch.com. Until next time, be ready.